Welcome to another episode of Hiring and Empowering Solutions. My name is Molly McGrath, and I am the creator of this office altering podcast. If you're a first-time listener, welcome. If you're a returning listener, welcome back. As always, you can check us out at hiringandempowering.com. Today, we are talking about why only focusing on the revenue is harming your growth, your law firm growth. And I think this timing is perfect because holy smokes, we are about 6 weeks until the end of 2021. I can't even believe it. And the timing is perfect. Our guest today is perfectly positioned to speak into this and how to, for you all to have that 2 millimeter shift and really stay open-minded in regards to, hopefully, if you're not driving, grab a pen, grab a piece of paper, your notepad, and let's start taking some notes. I'm so excited to have Lydia Desnoyers here today. Lydia, tell us a little bit about your company, DesCPA.
Thank you so much, Molly. Yes, so I'm the founder and owner of DesCPA Business Advisory, and we work with women-owned law firms and women-owned entrepreneurs in general to help with growing their businesses and obviously their law firms, which, is a business as well. And so, for me, it's my passion in working with women comes from being very aware of the challenges and things that I face as a woman in the professional services arena, and understanding those challenges and understanding how I overcame them and how other women sometimes still are experiencing these challenges. And so for me, my work is, I love empowering women. I just think it's a phenomenal thing to support one another. I think we're rock stars. And a lot of us probably don't realize how much of rock stars we are. And so I like to work with women and our mindset, kind of getting over these self-limiting beliefs and things that we have been taught over the years in the professional world. And so that's why I pride myself in being a supporter and empowering women-owned law firms and businesses.
I love, we all hear there's riches and niches, and many of our listeners are very niche specific in regards to their business. You spoke a little bit about empowering women, but what got you to the point of really defining that and clarifying that and putting your kind of stake in the ground and really making the decision to put that in your marketing, your branding, and your messaging?
Yeah, I thought it was really important because I think it in our service line, being a CPA and also attorneys, and in that arena, it's a male-dominated profession, right? Both of them being CPAs and stuff. When you think of a CPA, old white male, you think of attorneys, old white male. I think it's just, for me, I realized like that's where the value lies, right? And that's where I can contribute, and so for me, what I always tell people is when you find something that you're passionate about and you can turn it into, a service or something that you can, get paid for, and to empower other people who are like you, and you can speak to it from experience. I think that just speaks volumes, and it makes my work so much easier and enjoyable because, again, I've experienced these things. And so that's why I realized that's where the value lies, and that's where I'm passionate and where I enjoy it and where it's needed. And so it just kind of became a no-brainer. Like, what? Yes, that's who I want to work with. Women-owned law firms, and I work with women-owned CPAs as well, and empowering them and finding their value. Right, like I said, work with mindset. I think one of the challenges that we have as women. And I'll even go further and say women of color, is that, we know we're valuable, but we don't know how to, perhaps we're not that well with communicating that value, right? Because we're told, it's, you can't be contemptuous. You can't brag. You can't do this. So then we're told, okay, hide your shine, right? Hide your passion, right? And so for me, having experienced that and realizing that sometimes when I'm in a room with a whole bunch of other men, a lot of times I'm the smartest one in the room. But I think as women, we've been told to dim the light. And I can give you so many examples of when I being in a meeting when I was back in corporate, having these ideas and questions come up in these meetings, but I'm like, no, all these men must be smarter than me. If no one else has asked it, then then it's a dumb question. And then I'd walk out and say something. They're like, well, why didn't you say it inside the meeting? And
Yes.
it's like, and so just, helping women to kind of bring out their voice, right? And understanding how powerful they are and how much they have to contribute. And then again, recognizing our own value in order for us to communicate that value to our clients. And be compensated for that value, and understanding that mind shift from, and I'll get to something really technical, like from focusing on what your hourly rate is to what the value you're bringing to your clients is, right? And helping on that mind shift and being able to market yourself and share that value with others.
And I love that. And you said so much there of, hide your shine, so to speak. And really a lot of times you are the smartest person in the room, and being, especially in such male dominated arenas, CPA and legal by and large, they are led. And I think that when it comes to numbers, when it comes to bookkeeping, and it comes to the things that you're going to be talking about today, the only measuring stick we know is in regards to revenue. And you're going to talk about why that is a danger, but then also of just, I think a lot of times of not looking at your profit margin, as you said, how you value-based versus hourly billing and things of that nature. And if you bring the mindset, you bring the coaching, you bring the empowerment to what in the world other business advisors and fractional and virtual CFO brings that type of advisory and empowerment to the table, especially when you're talking about something that I don't know. I'd love your insight on this when it comes to finances. Typically, it's what I hear from even attorneys, successful attorneys, when they don't know their numbers, it brings a lot of embarrassment and shame with it.
Right. And so, yes, I absolutely work on a lot of mindset, but, obviously we tie it back to the financials, right? And so the biggest, one of the things I find with a lot of entrepreneurs, especially women-owned law firms, is when you ask, okay, well, how are you performing? How's business going? The response I get is, oh, well, we brought in X amount this month. Our revenues are X amount this month. And that's great. It's a great indicator, right, to see, how much revenue and how many cases that you're closing or clients that you're closing or converting. But, there's so much more to understanding how your business is performing, because my follow-up question after that, when they answer in terms of the revenues is, okay, well, what is your net profit? And then I get the, I'm not sure, or the, the hesitation, or, like the embarrassment of like, oh, it's actually a loss, And so, when, I remember speaking to somebody once and they said, oh, I'm slated to close this year at 1.2 million. And it's like, well, that's great. That sounds like phenomenal numbers. Okay. What's your net profit? Hesitated, scratch your head. Actually, it's about a loss of 200,000. Okay. Well, that's a red flag. Let's talk about that. Right. So let's look at what is driving your net profit and understanding the numbers that go into it. And so it's everywhere from something as basic as people are just not tracking anything, right? Or they're tracking it, but they're not understanding how to read it and how to make decisions based on what they're tracking. And then the second part is they're not tracking enough, right? They're not tracking the right information. So what are your key performance indicators that you should be looking at? What's your lead conversion rate? What is your, how many hours are your associates working on a case? And are you pricing your cases right to accommodate those hours? And which matters, are really profitable for you? And there's so many different factors and things that you can be tracking to see how you're performing and to help you make better decisions and more strategic decisions, right? To grow your firm. Because that's what we didn't start our businesses to stay stagnant, right? We didn't start these businesses to throw money out. We want to grow, right? And we want to get to that point where, our businesses, our law firms, our CPA firms are functioning while we're sitting on a beach. I'm here in the beautiful island of Barbados right now, and business is still going. And so I want to empower women to understand that we are, quote unquote, entitled to this. We deserve this. We're valuable, and we can serve our clients and make them happy while having a successful business. We can have it all. We can have the best of all.
Yeah. And you said, I love what you just said about, we're not here to be stagnant. We do want to grow, what have you. But a lot of times I do hear from, especially women, CPAs, attorneys, professionals in regards to, they do struggle a little bit, especially if you're a woman in power, if you're a woman that leads with a service-based heart, or if you are a caretaker by nature or what have you, when it comes to that place, without having someone like you to walk them through and navigate. And I would love if you could paint this picture for us of sort of why the benefit of knowing so much more than not only focusing on the revenue, but I think really honing in on how's your cash flow. If you're able to maintain profitability, if you have the right pricing structure versus what was handed down in a listserv or from the bar association or what have you.
Right. So great question. And I'll circle back to what we originally said, right? Is that a lot of law firm owners don't see their law firms as a business. And the reason I point that out is because, lawyers become lawyers, right? Because they're good at their niche, right? They're litigators, they're great at going to court and debating and stuff like that. They do immigration, criminal, you're good at what you do and providing that service to your client. But what law firms or what attorneys may neglect is that the fact that their law firm is an actual business. And so when you think about it that way, you have to look at the business side, right? And understand how everything that you do, how it impacts your financials, right? And then how those financials then tell a story about your law firm. And then, so it's working on what story do you want to tell about your law firm, right? Have we grown from year to year? Our associate, what's our turnover rate with our associates? Are they happy? And what I know, and I talk about that because as a fractional CFO or a virtual CFO, I also use that. The name of my firm is DesCPA Business Advisory. And the reason why I focus on business advisory is because we have to look at the business holistically. Everything you do is going to impact your financials, right? Every decision you make is going to impact your financials. And in the same breath, your financials will help you with making better decisions moving forward. And so once you understand, my firm, what we do is we take the time to really understand your operations, right? And so we understand from the minute a client calls for a consultation to when you close a case, we want to understand everything, right? And we'll tell you exactly how it impacts your financials and how you can tweak these so that you're working more efficiently, right? And more effectively, so that way your bottom line on your profit and loss is what you want it to be, right? We want to encourage you and empower you to work smarter, your whole team to work smarter, not harder. And so for me, it's really taking that time and again, understanding the business side of it, right? What are your operations? What softwares and applications are you using? Are you using them the most efficient and effective way? I guarantee that many of your listeners right now probably have multiple softwares.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I've seen it so many softwares because, one software has the right forms and then this software does trust accounting and then this software. And it's like, well, and I found it so many times where, I start looking into the softwares. I'm like, well, did you realize that this software actually does everything else? And so let's just use this one software. And so that's a cost savings right there that we can work on. And then also the second thing is understanding that your firm's case management software, understanding the difference that it's not a full accounting software. So yes, it may help you with some of the trust accounting, which obviously your bar requires. So we want to make sure that's accurate. It's great that it tracks it. But where are you tracking your payroll? Where are you tracking your rent expense? Where are you tracking? So you still need an accounting software and an accountant to work with to understand how these figures, how they all play with one another, right? How they all work with one another, and how they impact your profit and loss. So your revenues coming in, expenses going out, but more importantly, the cash flow as well, right? Because yes, your revenues may be 1.2 million, but have you collected all 1.2 million? Is the cash coming in a manageable way that you are covering all your expenses when they come due? And so we take the time to understand what are those factors that affect those things, and then what adjustments do we need to make? And a lot of times it requires a lot of bold moves. And so when I work with clients, we go through what's called a discovery meeting first. And it's where I get to know you, you get to know me, make sure we're a good fit for each other. But at the end of the discovery call, I ask for your commitment. I ask for several commitments, one of which is, are you open to making changes? Right? Because I can give you all the great ideas, right? But if you're like, no, I've been doing it this way for so long, I'm afraid to change and this and that, then, you're going to stay where you are. And so, but it's very collaborative. It's not, hey, I'm telling you, do this, actually, and do this, or, my way or the highway. It's very collaborative, but I need to know that you're open to making changes. I work with clients who have made such drastic changes in changing their entire name of their company, right? They've invested on websites and stuff, but, after getting it out of them, what it is that they're trying to achieve, hey, look, this branding is not right, right? And I'm far from a marketing person, but just, making sure that, like the role that you're stepping into is reflected in your brand and in your name and the messaging and stuff like that. So, even for myself, I transitioned half of my firm to someone else so I can focus on what it is that I really need to do that coincides or supports the life goals that I have for myself. So, and I'll be quite frank with that, I'm on my journey to motherhood and a single motherhood. And so, for me, having a tax firm where I was having a firm that predominantly did taxes, between January and April, I told my friends and stuff like, hey, you guys are not going to hear from me next few months. Everybody's birthday that's between these months, happy birthday in advance. And so when I recognize like, okay, well, if I'm going to start this journey to motherhood, I can't tell my child, hey, look, between January and April, mommy's not going to be around. So figure it out, so, it's having to make these really drastic moves, right, with my business, and we can go into a whole separate conversation about work-life integration, right? But this is how I integrated my business to support the personal life that or the personal goals that I have. And so, as women, as the nurturers and the caregivers and the mother, the people who bear children and things like that, regardless of what your goals are, I want to make sure I understand that and make sure that we can get your business and your law firm to support those goals.
Wow. Yeah. Oh, I love that work-life integration, because let's be honest, there's no
such thing as balance.
Balance. No, not at all. I really like that. But if that's your goal of the integration, that just takes all the pressure. Wow. I think we're going to bring it back and have a whole nother episode on that. You said so much there. Here's my key takeaways of a few things. Number one, I'd love for you to talk about what a fractional CFO is and how you get attorneys to give up control of their books, right? Of their accounting, especially when it comes time for software. I hear this all the time when it comes time for outsourcing, for a lack of a better term, or virtual person to handle your books. They have a tremendous amount of panic.
Yeah, I get that a lot. And again, well, the first thing I would say is you have to be ready to grow, right? And understanding what it means to grow, and the investments that you have to make, right? We've all been there. As a CPA, listen, I am the queen of control, right? I want to do everything myself. Like no one can do it the way I want to. And so you're absolutely right. That is that's a big challenge, right? Why a lot of law firms do not make that shift, right? But the question I ask is, when you think about your growth potential and all the potential you have to serve your clients and have the right team in place and have a law firm that supports your life's goals, like traveling the world, building a family, whatever your goal is, when you think about what that goal is and what your life can look like if everything is done right and you get your firm to where it wants to be, and you think about what that is worth, you have to understand that there's an investment that goes into doing that, right? And the biggest thing is understanding that it takes a team, right? It takes a team, and delegating, I know, is very difficult for us women. And again, that's why I work with women, because delegating is hard for us for so many reasons. One is the time it'll take me to teach somebody else to do this or to handle this, I could have done it myself. Or the trust factor, right? I need to oversee everything, or I'm not going to feel secure about it. And so all of those self-limiting beliefs can be overcome if you just acknowledge them, right? And so the whole delegating part, right? Or the fact that you can do it yourself. Yes, you absolutely can take the time to do it yourself, right? And yes, you may be able to do it within that next, but and save, let's say, 30 minutes that first time from between the hour it'll take for you to train somebody or the 10 minutes it'll take for you to do it, right? But then those 10 minutes add up, right? And so in the long term, you've spent too much time trying to do it on your own. And that's time that you could have been billing another client, that you could have been building your practice, making new connections, adding a new service line. That's time that you could have been on big picture stuff. Time you could have been spending with your family, right? Having somebody else do that, and that long-term investment. And when it comes down to what we do, the fractional CFO work, is knowing that you can be. I had a client recently went on vacation. By the time she came back, everything was still running smoothly, between her team, and we're still monitoring her the financials, and we're able to call and say, hey, look, this is something that I need to bring up to your attention. We need to make a change right now, right then and there. And so knowing that someone is looking at your business while you are looking out for your clients, you have to, again, think about the value that you're going to get, right? The value, what you're working for, the growth and stuff, and ask yourself, hey, it's worth it. I have to make this investment in myself. And so my question to somebody like that is, how valuable are the goals that you set for yourself, right? If you understand the value of the goals you set for yourself, making an investment and having the right team around you, that should be a no-brainer.
Yeah. Yeah. And you said, what I love about that is that it's not necessarily, so when you're focusing only on the revenue, right? And you're not focusing on the time, that's where you really get into the nitty gritty of breaking that down. And it's it's not just about the fee, it's about the cost. If you continue to do this, if you don't continue, if you don't delegate this, and I hear this all the time, but as the advisory side of what you have, of also the implementation of it, so often what I'd like about your model and working with women-owned businesses is that I hear this all the time when I suggest a strategy or I ask a question about money, and particularly fees and monies and things of that nature. The first question out of the attorney's mouth is, well, what are other people doing? And so you have that advisory side where you can bring those best practice approaches that work in regards, especially in this very black and white area, which is, accounting and finances, right?
Right.
But it's not black and white.
It's not. And there's definitely balance. And definitely that's one of the things that we kind of bring to the table as well, is we help you understand how your peers are doing in the industry, right? So if you want to know, at the same time, I always encourage people, think outside the box, right? Let's do things your way. I mean, there are just some things that, I would present to a client. It's I had never thought of that, or I didn't, I don't know what other people are doing, or I don't think that's how they're doing. It's okay, well, let's check with your bar association. If there's nothing in the bar association that says you cannot do this, then let's do it, right? And it's worked out. And there have been some money, some cash improvement or revenue improvement suggestions that I've made. And again, working with women is because what I find is that a lot of times we're the ones holding each other back, right? We're the ones holding ourselves back, rather not each other, we're holding ourselves back. And so there's suggestions and recommendations that I would make. And again, that's why I ask for commitment from my clients before I work with them. So those who are okay, yes, let me go ahead and try this. And the feedback I get is, Lydia, I got no pushback from the client. And I'm like, yeah, you were the only one that was holding yourself back. And I said, I think I've said that to like every single one of my clients, where they come back to me, is like, Lydia, when I increased my price, I got no pushback. Lydia, when I said I was gonna, charge just for, for this payment method, I got no pushback. And it's like, exactly, because what you bring so much value to that client, right? You are very valuable. And so, again, it's just working with women with that mindset and then understanding how it affects, like you can be holding yourself back from having that law firm of your dreams, of generating that net profit, not just the revenue, but that net profit that will support your dreams and your goals. And so, it's understanding, and again, understanding how these decisions impact your number. And so, for me as a numbers person, when I make a suggestion or recommendation, I'll show you the numbers to support, and I'll show you, hey, look, this is the impact it's going to have on your P&L. This is the impact it's going to have on your cash flow. So you see how like the past few months, perhaps you weren't meeting payroll on time. Look, we'll be able to meet payroll on time. We'll be able to pay that vendor on time. I want us to get to a point, all of us, all of these women, you in a marketing agency, me and my CPA firms that I work with, the law firms I work with, I want all of us to be able to just live life without worrying about our finances. I want us to all know how our finances are performing. So when I work with my clients, we meet at minimum once a month. Right? At minimum, right? Which means that there's things that come up, things that are, that require additional attention. We'll just get on a call and we'll hash it out. At minimum once a month, we go through the financials and those key performance indicators and say, here's how you're performing from, compared to last month. Here's how you're performing compared to your industry. If you want to reach this goal, we have to make some changes, or you're right on track, right? Here's how it affects your forecast. Right. And now as you mentioned, now's a great time to be talking about this, because I'm already working with my clients on their budgets and their forecast for 2022. Right. So yes, we met some revenue goals this year. Let's increase it some more next year. Right. Let's see how we can grow a little bit more next year. Having that fractional CFO be able to do that for you while you, again, are in a courtroom, right? I hear how much time attorneys are spending on trying to understand their numbers and trying to put it in a way to provide to their CPA just to do their taxes. And it's like, should you really be spending that much time on that? And, your trust accounting and stuff and things like that, is that really where your time is best spent? Right.
Or they will spend no time and bury their head in the sand because they're afraid to look at their numbers because of things like you say. Again, the whole theme of this podcast of why it's not just about revenue, because you think you're reaching your revenue goals, and you might be reaching your revenue goals, but then it comes time to run payroll and we don't have enough money, or it clears everything out, or we didn't consider our quarterly taxes, or we didn't all these other things where it's just not about revenue. And I love it because, and I'd love for you in closing to just really tell us what the benefit of fractional and kind of what that means. But what I love about it is one area that you can, if you're not excited about looking at your numbers, you don't know the answers to the powerful questions that you do ask in that discovery call, then they can take it off their own plate and give it to an expert. So tell us a little bit about the fractional model. And I'm a huge fan of it, virtual model, and the benefit of going that route versus bringing in-house CFO.
Right. So, the reason why fractional anything exists, right, is because perhaps you're not at this level where you need somebody in-house full-time or a department, right? But you do need somebody more than just a bookkeeper. You need somebody to help you with making decisions and stuff like that. So we like to call ourselves the non-equity partners, right? So we want you to feel that, hey, we are, quote unquote, your full-time, your CFO, and you have this team. And it's not just me, I have my team. So you have a whole team, right? That's supporting you. And monitoring your financials and your cash flow and helping you with ideas. And so when you think about that benefit, the benefit again is, I would implore everybody to take a minute and think about what their dream law firm looks like, right? Not just a dream law firm, but their dream life, right? And then when you think about all why aren't you there yet? Right. And so when you think about when you think of the fact that, okay, now you have this business advisor who's going to come in and help you understand your business model, understand your financials and how everything impacts it, and how we can increase your cash flow, how we can increase your net profit, how we can minimize expenses, how we can help you identify where you can negotiate pricing on and things like that, and how it's actually like your dream life is achievable, right? Having the right support team. And for that is the benefit, right? Of knowing that it is achievable, you can get it there, and there's someone there to support you. You know, I'm always asking my clients for feedback because I want to make sure that they're getting exactly what they want, right? That they feel confident in their business and their growth, right? So I ask for feedback. Hey, what are your thoughts? Are you getting what you want on this? What else would you like us to work on? What are some things you want us to focus on? And the feedback I get is, one of the feedbacks that resonated with me was someone who said that they feel that it's someone that they can relate to, right? And that I understand their struggle. I understand the challenges that they have, right? I can speak their language, right? So that was one. Another one I had was that the person felt so comfortable, or what was the word that they used? I forgot the word exactly how they said it, but in essence, that they felt that while they can focus on working on their clients, that they knew someone had their back, that someone was that somebody cared about their business almost if not exactly as much as they do. Right. And again, when people work with me, I think they feel the passion, right? They feel the passion because, you know, I really treat your business like it's my own, you know. Again, that's why I go back to that, you know, the non-equity partner. And so that I think the numbers part, it comes really natural to me, right? And sometimes I take for granted how easy it comes to me. But I think one of the things that my clients get back is the fact that I'm able to translate it in a way that they understand, right? So it's not so daunting, so that you don't feel like, okay, I have to stick my head in the sand. Like I am confident in my numbers. And even if it's not where you want it to be right now, but you're confident in the fact that we can, on how to get there. And I think that in and of itself is such a huge benefit and brings so much value to my clients, that now they no longer fear their financials, right? They no longer fear reviewing their financials and understanding their financials. So they feel empowered that either it is going exactly how they want it to go, or at least now I have a game plan. At least now I know I have a plan in place that I can execute and monitor and see how I'm growing. So, you know, when you think about it that way, it's kind of a no-brainer that you should be working with a fractional CFO to make sure you understand your whole business and that it can grow.
And they don't have to. I hear so often when I get phone calls from law firms and they want me to support them with their hiring needs, very first comment out of their mouth, I don't have time to train. And I don't want to train someone because, especially in the law, especially with working with CPA firms and, high risk, of course, and not knowing the language and understanding that. So I think that's a benefit of hiring an expert and putting them on, a monthly retainer, what have you, and things of that nature, because right off the bat, your time, you've gained back time, and which time is money.
Right. And you have like your executive team. So when you think about big companies or big law firms and stuff that are, they're very, very successful, right? They have teams in place, they have their CFOs, they have their CMOs, they have their COOs, they have all that, right? And so when you think about it, when you're aspiring to become bigger than where you are, you have to start having that executive team, right? And so, like I said, we meet on a monthly basis, and we go through high level. Again, I understand you're trying to get back to your clients, so I'm gonna put things in a way that you can understand and grasp, and we can make decisions right then and there. And the clients that I work so well with are those that are very decisive. that, hey, this is a great idea. Because again, I come with the support, right? Here's how much you could save. Here's how it's going to affect yours. So let's do this. And so I love it when clients are just like, yes, let's try it out, right? Let's try it out. And we'll monitor and we'll pivot if we need to. You're always going to be, if you want to grow, you must always evolve and stay ahead of the game, right? And so when you're working with your clients, you're going to court, you're filing motions, you're doing all this stuff, right? But who is there, looking at the business side, right? Are you staying ahead of the trend? Are you using your software to its fullest potential? Are you working as efficient as you can be? So you have like that executive team, you have that person there that's helping you with that piece, right? And so we convene, right? You're handling your clients, you have your person handling your finances, you have your person handling your marketing and your hiring and stuff. And then we meet on a monthly basis and we talk about it, right? And when you think about successful businesses, that's what they do. They have these meetings with their executive team. And hey, these are things that we plan on doing. All right, I take it back. All right, here's how it's going to affect your financials if we go this route or this decision. I mean, things from, hey, we want to change office spaces, or we're thinking about buying a new piece of equipment, or well, are we going to finance that? Are we going to pay it outright? What's the tax implication? That's another big thing that a lot of law firms, want to ask about tax strategy, right? What are some things that you can be doing to reduce your tax liability? Okay, so let's talk about that. Let's talk about expensing things or depreciating things. Let's talk about that holistic picture. So it's fun. You can tell I'm lighting up talking.
Yes, yes, you can speak the language. You know the path to freedom is right. What I'm hearing about it, and really holding their hand through it, not shaming, blaming, or pushing them, but also bringing that advisory, that coaching, that consultant essence to it is the biggest piece of it that you bring to the table, because so often they're going to want to hear what worked, what didn't work. Okay, how am I going to go in there and communicate my value? And you're supporting them with finding language that resonates with them and lands for them, that it feels very natural and exciting, because it does communicate their essence of how they want to build their practice and how they want to serve their clients. Wow. How can our listeners get a hold of you?
Simplest way, you can call our office. Our number is 305-503-5609. Of course, we're virtual CFOs, so a lot of things can be virtual in the environment we live in right now. So yes. You can schedule a time. You can go on my website, DesCPA.com, DesCPA.com. Schedule time. Email us, info@DesCPA.com, info@DesCPA.com. Find us on social media. That's Business Advisory on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter, all of them. You can definitely find us, online.
Yes. And we'll put all the links in the show notes for your social channels, in addition to your website, and also that link for people to be able to schedule that complimentary introduction and discovery call with you.
Absolutely. Yep.
Oh, wow, Lydia, I'm going to bring you back. I think we need to have a whole new conversation about that work-life integration. I love that concept.
I love it. Really. I'll be so happy to come back and talk to you. It's been fun.
Great. Thank you for being our guest today. If you like what you hear on our podcast, please feel free to visit our website at hiringandempoweringsolutions.com. So we love that you are listening to this podcast. Please drop us a line with any feedback, suggested topics you'd like to hear. And absolutely, we'd love to hear about your victories and your win in regards to creating entrepreneurs in an entrepreneur's world.